Fuck around, make my 40 pop.
I want you guys to prepare yourself for arguably one of the most stressful episodes and one of the most plot twisting episodes that you guys will probably ever get to see in Boruto. This right here, when I was reading it in the Boruto manga, made my head hurt. It was just so much plot twist, so much information, so much things that we had to work with, so much things that completely changed that whole ideology of the series. It was absolutely insane. I'm going to try to get to most of that in this particular video right here. Now, episode 212, the title is going to be Defection. Chapter 45 is also named Defection, so we could possibly assume episode 212 is going to be adapting chapter 45, but the entirety of chapter 44 has not yet been adapted into the Boruto anime, so there will be some content on chapter 44 in the actual episode of episode 212. So I'm going to go over that really quickly, and it was actually confirmed because in the preview we seen some of the events in chapter 44. The first thing that we should assume that will actually happen is, of course, Kashin Koji and Amado continuing out their plan. What happens is Kashin Koji is about to reverse summon Amado to the Hidden Leaf Village, so Amado can then go into the Hidden Leaf Village. But right after Kashin Koji summons the Toad, Delta walks up. Now, if you guys do recall, back in the last episode, Amado told Kashin Koji that no other Kata members were actually there. This right here was a surprise to Amado. But when Delta walked up, she was pretty much pressing the Kashin Koji said immediately, "Don't worry about this, I'll take Delta down real quick." But then Amado quickly intervened and said he'll handle this. And then Amado said, and I quote, "Time to go to sleep, Delta." And all of a sudden, Delta just goes out. And Kashin Koji said something slick. He says that seems to be an emergency shutdown code. I suspect I've similarly been programmed. So Kashin Koji is actually asking himself if he himself also has a shutdown button. But regardless, they get into the Toad and then they reverse summon to the Hidden Leaf Village. Amado leaves out. He pretty much enters the Hidden Leaf Village. Kashin Koji goes back to the Kata organization hideout where Jigen is to carry out his actual mission. Now, at this particular point, Amado is actually confronted with Ino Shikacho, and Amado actually pointed this out, the new generation of Ino Shikacho. Shikadai was the vocal one. He immediately noticed Amado and then asked Amado, "What do you want?" Amado said that he didn't necessarily want to talk to him, he wanted to talk to his father, Shikamaru. So then he kind of ignored Shikadai, but then Shikadai put Amado under a shadow paralysis jutsu. Immediately, Amado uses one of his scientific ninja tech that uses sound to actually stun his opponents. That right there immediately released the shadow possession jutsu. Directly after that, Shikadai started to be tied up, and then Amado injected Shikadai with something. Shikadai completely passed out. Before Shikadai even hit the ground, Amado put a bomb around Shikadai's neck. Inojin and Chocho, they're completely stunned. Inojin calls Ino his mother. He himself basically gives her the rundown and asks to speak to Shikamaru. Ino then gives to Shikamaru rundown, basically saying that Amado has his son captive. Obviously, Shikamaru reacts exactly how he's supposed to react. Moegi then comes to help Shikadai. She uses a Doton Earth style. Now, right after that, Amado basically says, "Listen closely." He basically equipped a tree branch with the same bomb that he put around Shikadai's neck, and then he says, "Look at the tree branch," without him actually moving, because right now Amado is completely restrained. He says without him moving, he's going to trigger that bomb and actually detonate it right now. Out of nowhere, the tree branch completely blows up, which basically signifies that Amado doesn't necessarily have to be moving to actually detonate the bomb that's on Shikadai's neck as we speak. So he's pretty much saying that there is no need to actually restrain him. So of course, Moegi lets Amado go. So then Sai starts to negotiate with Amado. He basically asks him, "What do you want?" Amado then says he doesn't want to talk to Sai, he wants to talk to Shikamaru. In Amado's mind, he basically says that he wants to speak to Shikamaru mainly because he believes that Shikamaru is the head of operations at the Hidden Leaf Village, because in Amado's head he thinks that Naruto is not there, because obviously Amado thinks that Jigen did away with Naruto. But then they actually reassured Amado that Naruto is safe. They in fact put everybody in like a five-way conversation where they have Naruto, they have Shikamaru, they have Ino, they have damn near everybody. Even Boruto and Kawaki can actually listen into their conversation. So now Naruto basically tells him like, "Yo, I'm alright, what do you want?" And then Amado basically says, "I'm glad you're okay," but then he says, "I wish to defect to the Konoha village." Essentially, he wishes to actually leave the Kata organization and join the Hidden Leaf Village, and he says, "In return, I'll offer you intel on Kata, Jigen, the Ten Tails, and Otsutsuki." And then chapter 44 ends right there. That right there in itself was not the confusing part. This right here in chapter 45 was where things actually start to go down. Naruto then agrees that he'll actually hear Amado out. Shikamaru is completely mad at this, mainly because he understands that Shikadai is being held captive. Then Naruto reassures Shikamaru that the only way that they can actually save Shikadai is by actually hearing Amado out. So he then orders Sada to actually bring Amado back up to his office while in restraints. The scene then shifts to Kashin Koji and Jigen talking amongst each other. Jigen tells Kashin Koji to sit and then give him the report. Jigen then tells Kashin Koji that he doesn't necessarily see Kawaki with him and that it's unheard of for Kashin Koji to actually show up empty-handed. Kashin Koji in this particular situation is basically saying that he was confused as to why Jigen was actually able to show up directly in front of Kawaki, even though he did actually send Kashin Koji on that direct mission. Jigen says that he feels that that right there wasn't odd. He says, in my opinion, and I quote, "The current situation all stems from the airship crash landing that was the direct cause of Kawaki's breakout. First of all, that was no accident. Someone attacked the airship in transit and deliberately caused it to crash, feigning an accident." The funniest thing I've ever seen my man Kashin Koji said. This man says, "That's news to me. Wherever did you hear such a thing?" Jigen obviously then pulls Kashin Koji's card. He says, "Don't play dumb. This is a prime opportunity for all of us to drop all pretenses and talk," essentially insinuating that Kashin Koji was the one to actually crash the airship. The scene then shifts directly back to Amado and Naruto. Sasuke walks in. This man Amado is talking freely amongst everything with the Kado organization, Jigen and the Otsutsuki clan essentially being snitched on at this particular point. But regardless, my man says, "You already know this, but Jigen is an Otsutsuki, or rather he became an Otsutsuki. He originally was an ordinary human just like us." Then Amado goes on to explain exactly what the Otsutsuki clan is. He basically says that they're invaders from another planet. To put it plainly, they're alien parasites. He basically goes on to explain their goal by actually planting a god tree, having the god tree suck up all the chakra on that planet, and then eating that chakra fruit. He then looks back at Sasuke and asks him if he'd actually been to that dimension. Now that dimension he's talking about was the dimension with the 10 tails. Supposedly the 10 tails is going to be an intricate part in this process of the Otsutsuki clan, but then Amado actually goes on to actually uncover the fact that he left that information there in plain sight so that Sasuke can actually go to that dimension and get a glimpse of Ishiki Otsutsuki. He then explains how the 10 tails comes into the situation. He says the 10 tails is the seedling for the divine tree. First the 10 tails is planted into the ground, and then it grows into the divine tree, and then it consumes the planet. Eventually it bears the chakra fruit. At this particular point, everybody's bugging. Katasuke seems elated. Boruto, Sumida, and Kawaki, they're listening in. They basically seem confused. Kawaki himself, he's basically confused mainly because he understands exactly who Amado is. Naruto goes in, he basically says, "You said a few things that bother me, but anyways." So now it's Jigen who's trying to do this to our planet as we speak. Sasuke intervenes. He says no, he doesn't necessarily think that. He says whoever put the karma seal on Jigen is trying to do that, he bets. Sasuke said that Amado said that Jigen was originally a human being and became an Otsutsuki because of the karma, right? Amado completely confirmed my man Sasuke's suspicion. At this particular point, Boruto and Kawaki, they're keying in on this conversation mainly because they obviously have the karma seal and they're obviously interested. So then Amado goes to explain more, but Amado was quickly distracted because he was getting a feed from Kashin Koji in his sunglasses. Naruto asks Shikamaru to take off Amado's glasses and puts Amado's glasses on the table as a projector, so now they can actually see the Kashin Koji versus Jigen battle. So now everybody right here is absolutely stunned. Shikamaru is saying that's Kashin Koji. He actually did get some reports, and this right here is going to be absolutely interesting, man, because Kakashi recently in the Boruto anime had a confrontation with Amado. I wonder if they actually do bring him into this actual scene right here in the Boruto anime. That right there would be top tier writing in my opinion. But regardless, Amado goes on to explain that Kashin Koji is the only one of the Kado organization who's actually collaborating with Amado in this defection right here, which basically means that Kashin Koji was on his side the whole entire time. So the scene then shifts back to Jigen and Kashin Koji speaking amongst themselves. Jigen then told Kashin Koji that he wanted to know his actual motives. At this particular time, Jigen is basically saying that he thought that they all had an agreement that they will all actually split the chakra fruit that they would get from the actual god tree. But at this particular point, Kashin Koji completely disregarded what Jigen says. Kashin Koji said that Jigen is pretending to be collected, but underneath he's really like kind of weakened. So then he immediately goes to attack Jigen. That right there didn't work. Jigen completely disappeared. He ended up on the backside of Kashin Koji, speared him with a couple of rods out of nowhere, but it turns out that that right there was actually a shadow clone, and then Kashin Koji appears directly behind Jigen. Essentially the same thing that happened with Kakashi. Kashin Koji then admits, "I was created to kill you," and then the chapter ends right there. I'm not gonna lie to you guys right now, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I left out a lot of stuff in this chapter, mainly because there is just too much. There is too much. I'm telling you guys right now. I caught a headache after reading chapter 45 of the Boruto manga when it first came out, mainly because the information right here was literally too much. The chapters that is going to be adapting is going to be chapter 44 and chapter 45. A bit of chapter 44 was already adapted into the Boruto anime, but again, there is still some stuff in chapter 44 that you do need to read before you actually do try to read chapter 45. But let me know what you guys think about this next episode in the comment section below. My personal opinion is going to be one of the most informational based episodes that we have seen in Boruto in a long time, and it's probably going to flip the whole series completely upside down. But it's me, your boy Baara B, and we out.
It's a knife.